G'day guys. Today I am showing you, very quickly there, did you see that at the beginning? Sorry, that was a bit quick. I'm doing the K.I.S.S thing again. So I'm keeping my layouts this week, I'm keeping them simple, okay? Now, sometimes we get papers that are really busy and we sort of think, oh, I'll never use that one. This is what I want to show you. Now, I love this paper. This is from Paper Rose Studios, and it's the Rainbow Poppy papers, and this particular one has poppies from the bottom all the way to the top, and it's just all poppies, and it's very, very, very busy. Now, as much as I love it, I thought I would use this particular one to show you how you can use a super busy paper and how you can get all the pretty colors and everything, but it may not necessarily look the way it did when it was full, if that makes sense. So the full sheet, you can tell they're all poppies, and it's literally the whole 12 by 12 poppies, right? But when you break it down, and if you do something like this where you're cutting into it and you're making the title out of the background paper, but you're replicating it, you're still getting that rainbow effect. But when it's all said and done, it doesn't look like poppies. It just looks like a beautiful background. So this is a super simple way of doing it. Now, I've cut this out of my Cricut. So yes, these are, now I'm using my Cricut so to speed up the process of creating these videos, right? You could quite easily do this with a die cut, like if you've got a manual die cutting machine and you've got some alphas, you can do it that way. You could even, like, I know this sounds really difficult, but you actually could manually draw these letters and cut them out if you don't have all the bits and pieces, you know, and all the bells and whistles. So it is doable. Now, I wanted to keep this as super simple as possible. I've kept the mixed media to a minimum. I did bring some in because once I popped this down, I felt like it needed a little bit of something. Now, I probably in hindsight, maybe I would have done a bit of mixed media and then put this on top. But I liked how it turned out in the end anyway. And the purpose of this week's videos, I'm keeping it simple, okay? I'm not going to call you stupid. I'm going to say keep it simple, subscribers, okay? That's what I'm going to call it, because it's a K.I.S.S process. And I know that I get a lot of comments, and in those comments, I always hear, I could never do that, or I would never think of doing that, and that's what these videos are for. Now, if you have a quick look before I go ahead, okay, remove that out of the way. This is a brand new cutting mat, so I wanted to get the plastic on it straight away so I didn't get dog hair on it. Now, you can see that is just a beautiful rainbow of words. They no longer look like poppies. It just looks like a repetitive title down the page. Now, I could have squeezed out one more happy birthday out of that sheet of cardstock, but out of that paper, but I didn't really want the red. I wanted it to be more of the pinks, purples, yellows, and blues. That's where I wanted to go with it. So I actually, on purpose, I sort of jumped up the happy birthdays and skipped out the red section, purely because the red on this one, obviously poppies are red, but I sort of felt like the red was, it's really bright red, and it just didn't really go with what I was, my subject, to be completely honest with you. Now, this is where I decided I was going to do something a little bit different for me. Now, I've cut that out and it's all even and all the rest of it. But what I wanted to do was show you that you can make it look crooked. And that way, if you're not happy and you're not confident, if you're not confident in getting everything perfectly plumb and lined up and all squared away, if that's not you, this is just a simple way of avoiding that until you get better at lining things up. First things first, the one thing that will save you bacon all day long is a distressing tool. Now, the distressing tool I have was like $4.99 or something from, I think I got it from, it doesn't actually have a name on it, but I think I picked it up from K.I.S., maybe. But anywhere you can find these, you can use the back of your scissors if you don't have a distressing tool. Don't use the inside where your blade is, because I see people doing that and that just bluntens your blade. And to me, I just think, well, that's kind of crazy. So if you don't do that, just use the back of your scissors or whatever, because you don't want to spend money on good scissors and then trash them. Like, that's crazy. So I use my distressing tool, and that hides a plethora of cutting sins, and that way it looks how it's supposed to look. Now, this is where I was having a bit of a hiccup because it was all crooked. I was trying to figure out 12 by 12. I've got to get this right now. Now I've got to get it back to plumb sort of thing. Like, it was just out of whack. So, but that's okay. So see how it's crooked, and it's crooked on purpose. So that's a simple way of doing a layout like this, and it's easy. Like, it's meant to be crooked. So if you put it on crooked, so be it. Again, I've brought in the simple rule of, because it's all light and bright and white, I bring in my contrasting color, which is black, and whether I use black pen, which I do use a little bit of black pen later on, and mounting things with black cardstock makes life easier. And I did this particular layout, I have raised up my photos on a little bit of craft foam, just one photo, because this is just Jen and Gizmo on her birthday morning this year, and she was sitting with all her presents, and I took a photo, and I thought, you know what, that's the perfect photo for this sort of thing. Now, I'm using my MARTE premium acrylic ink. Now, this stuff, I'm loving playing with this stuff, okay? So this palette is my designated palette for this now, FYI, because it just, if you don't clean it up straight away, you've got to wait for it to fully set and then peel it out. It kind of dries. The more I've played with this, the more I will, don't worry, your video hasn't broken. I'm just busily grabbing something else. Now, the thing that I have found with this is the acrylic ink is not that dissimilar to, acrylic paint. Once it dries, you can then go over the top of it. Once it's dried completely, it is locked in place. So it's not like your distress oxides or your distress inks that are water reactive. Now, I'm using a little bit of water in here to dilute it a little bit, but I'm not using the water to, like, you can dilute it to spread it to make it more transparent, but once it dries, that's it, it's dried. And you can go over the top of it and all that sort of thing. Now, I am just playing here. I have no real idea on how this is going to go color matching. So I'm trying to color match the best I can. I was trying to just do a strip of color sort of matching all the way down the edges. And as I was going, I was getting a little bit sidetracked while I was doing this because there was a storm rolling in, another one. So I was getting a little bit sidetracked, but that's okay. Now, I did manage to lift a little bit of the ink off because I sort of shook my head and went, what are you doing? Like, you're doing it all wrong. What? I don't even know why my brain was thinking this, but this is something that I love to do. I love to color match with different mediums. So whether it is distress oxide, whether it's distress oxide sprays, whether it is distress inks, the MARTE acrylic ink, all of the above. I love playing with it all and finding different colours that I can mix together and give me different hues, that sort of thing. So I am in the process. Oh, that was a. Does anyone else in Australia at the moment, are they getting sick of the, I won't even say the consulate, but they keep ringing telling me I've got $2,000. I must put in my bank details. Like, it's so stupid. Like, do they really think we're that dumb? Oh, obviously it works on some people, I suppose, but yeah. Beware, guys. Don't get sucked into these scammers. It's ridiculous. And now they're using mobile phone numbers, and it throws me off because I always answer the call because it could be to do with my father-in-law. And because there's so many different, there's physio, OT, there's speech therapy this week. So the day that this goes up, what day does this one go up? Wednesday. Yeah, so the day this one goes up, I'm down with my father-in-law for the day. So he's got speech therapy and physiotherapy and all sorts of things. So I will be in and out, and I'll be on my phone here and there answering your questions if you've got any. But I absolutely love doing this. Now, this is where I sort of shook it off, got rid of the storm out of my head, and started to sort of colour match a little bit better. And I've found that by adding the white on top, you sort of get a bit of a swirl sort of look to it. And I felt that was getting a little bit closer to what I was looking for. And I did do some splatters because I didn't want that background to just be all on it, like just all white. It felt too white to me. So I know it seems a little bit sort of chaotic and messy, but I do come in and I do fix up these colours and I colour match them a little bit better. I'm not sure what I was thinking at the very beginning. I just wasn't colour matching very well. And going over it with a little bit of white just lightens it up a little bit, but it ties in so with the poppies, you can see with the poppies that there's little white bits in the title, and it just sort of ties it in a little bit better. Now, I'm not going over the top and embellishing till the cows come home with lots and lots of bits and pieces on this particular layout because, like I said, I'm keeping it simple. So I want my subscribers to realize that not every single layout has to be super duper over the top. Sometimes it's okay. Just do a simple layout. So I will be back with another layout tomorrow. And the layout tomorrow, I'm actually using my gel plate. So I've got a jelly plate and I don't use it nearly enough. And I realized when I started doing that layout, oh my goodness, I love just pulling prints from a jelly mat. Like my jelly plate is, I don't even know the brand of mine. It's jelly plate. I know that. I'll have to have a look and see what the brand is actually called. But it is so much fun. It is, when you hear the term, it is addictive. It really is. You start pulling prints and you will go all day, every day. You can just sit and just make print after print after print. And the idea behind that is you may not have the budget or the storage space to be able to have loads and loads and loads of printed, beautiful printed papers, 12 by 12 papers. You might be in a really small space. Now, I did skip over that, guys. So you didn't blink and miss it. I went around all the happy birthdays with my Posca paint pen. Now, again, I'm going to tell you, slow and steady is the answer. When you are using a Posca paint pen and you're going around something and you're on white, there's no room for error. So go slowly. That's the secret. So this is pretty much where I'm at. Now, I did come in with my Uniball Signo Broad white pen on top of the dried acrylic ink, and it pops beautifully. It goes on top perfectly. So these are two mediums that work really, really well, and they go together perfectly. So I will have to do something else with those. I'm loving, loving, loving playing with those. Now, I'm just about at the end here, guys. So please, if you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. It's on your screen right now. Just hover over the top of it and you'll be able to click on it. And that way you won't miss any more of my inspiration that I bring to you daily. So I've zoomed right in so you can see that there's poppies, but from a distance they no longer look like poppies. So you might have a paper that might not be poppies, it might be Christmas paper. But if you cut it out small like that, it may not look like Christmas. It might just look like a green paper or a red paper. So, you know, think outside the box, but keep it simple. Don't go over the top with all different techniques, and look how good it can look. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll chat to you later. Bye for now.